A Light Within Darkness Chapter 64, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Its smell was beyond description. Its texture was like the nasty film and slime some fat person would have in a yeast infection on their genitals. Even with using my cultivation to literally disconnect 5 senses, its sensations transcended mortal logic and touched upon my very soul with how repugnant it was. There was no other solution than just getting it over with. There was no silencing the concoction made by a god that could shatter worlds with its diseases and pox that could kill the core of a planet. My consciousness drifted from my form as I realized that the concoction exceeded my innate demonic resistance, and for the first time, even as I shot up the ranks of the spirit realm, as I absorbed the trace of divinity and such pure chaotic energy within the large veil, I completely lost control over my demon-swallowing physique as my body hunched over, as powerful cracking noises rang out as my body fought off the transformative properties within the mixture and used that fuel to propel my cultivation upwards. It was only my young physique that was using the endless diseases, filth, and evil within myself like some nuclear fuel to fuel the upgrade of my inner sun, and even Nurgle couldn't help but hum in thought as the air around his cauldron boiled and frothed with the false reality here in the warp, turning hazy at the insane amount of young flames I was unconsciously releasing. Like an oil refinery plant, I literally became a torch of purifying flames, but even as I peaked out at the top levels of the spirit rank of cultivation, I vomited blood as my cultivation couldn't rise anymore, as my body, even with my insane physiques, couldn't just jump a whole fucking realm in the course of a couple of minutes. So now I had to repress the flames that were burning away the filth and just try to deal with it other than breaking it down for fuel, as my body was already at the point of taking damage to my cultivation's expansion. A loud tearing noise like someone taking thick scissors to flesh rang out, and I finally let out a scream of agony as I lost control of the Nurgle's blessing, but instead of how it wanted to create a massive gaping mouth filled with jagged teeth across my stomach, I instead forced the mouths to form into 2 smaller mouths on the palms of my hands, with Nurgle's blessing creating a sort of pocket space in the mouths of my hand. I shuddered, teeth clenched, as I used all my mental strength to force the corruption seeping into my hands into monstrous mouths that would devour and corrupt with disease, and force it into accepting the yang fire within my soul, and then under the force of my excessive yang fire that was still burning away the excessive corruption within myself, I finally felt dozens long thick tongues form within the pocket space that was lined with tendrils that could be either completely soft and fleshy or turn as hard as they came out of the mouths on my hands. Not bad at all. Child of man. Only my champion Mortarion was able to resist his blessings so well without another higher being dispelling my power. Nurgle spoke as I held on to the railing of the rickety platform next to Nurgle's cauldron, but although it was a rickety mess, it withstood me becoming a torch of flames that should have easily burnt away the rotting and decayed wood. Nurgle grumbled as he eyed me as I shakily stood up with my hands clenched shut to keep the new mouths of my hand closed, as the new nerves that connected to these mouths were raw and screaming with life in the worst ways. And I already could taste Nurgle's realm with every breath I took. I didn't need 2 more mouths supplying me with the aroma of distilled nasty around Nurgle's cauldron. I felt Nurgle's judging gaze upon me for what felt like hours as I was still shuddering at how overstressed my body was, until Nurgle finally snorted, and I could feel his guttural, mucus-filled mouth all but chewing on the nasty in his mouth before he spoke. Now take your prize, little human warrior. I will be watching when your steps and when you want more blessings to become immortal, untouched by death or pain. Nurgle leaned down to me, and as he whispered to me, I realized how easily these chaos gods could ensnare people into their cults. You will come to me and I will welcome you into the family as one of my champions, he whispered, and then, with a blink from the chaos god, the Eldar goddess Isha's cage swung open with an ear-ringing screech that undoubtedly rang out for miles, making me think how lucky I was to do this opening rather than trying to open her cage stealthily as I walked over to Isha's cage. Once I reached Isha's cage, she looked at me evenly with a small smile as she spoke. So what did you actually wish of me, little human? She spoke softly as I walked up to her and into her cage, as I realized her legs were bound in nasty rusty manacles linked together by equally rusty nasty chains, making her unable to walk beyond a hobble without tearing up her pale bare ankles. I held up a finger to her, making her blink, and I could actually hear Nurgle's eye gunk breaking as he himself blinked in surprise as I held the back of my hand against my mouth and burnt my mouth out clear of any that remained, with my hand actually being pushed away slightly from the force of the flames I was concentrating within my mouth before I was satisfied my mouth was now cleared. I am human. I spoke with finality and she tilted her head to the side in complete confusion, but I soon made her a fuck more load confused as I lifted her chin up and the ceiling pill I spent the last few weeks creating was forced into her mouth as my head dipped low, and I used a technique to force my tongue to extend, and that pill that was a ritual in solid form was forced into her throat, and she teetered as her beyond repressed and weakened divinity was sealed within herself, preventing it from leaking out. As a human, I am entitled to loot space elves. I yelled, confusing the shit out of everyone and preventing even Nurgle from reacting as I fucking stole Isha right from under him as a portal to material space opened up beneath us and snapped shut the instant we passed through.